Hi, this is Alexcursus, a show where we take a look at some Gunpla and see how authentic they are. This time, we are looking at the PFF-X7 J5 Jupitive Gundam. Jupitive Gundam is another example of the Core Gundam combining with the planetary armor system, this time the Jupiter armor, and form a bigger Gundam. Like I have previously been talking about, it was fun to show the whole combining aspect of Core Gundam and the planetary armor, and it is fun to play around with. It is a bit of a hassle to put on camera. So I have the Core Gundam put on the Jupiter armor on as Jupitive Gundam already. Now what you're looking at isn't exactly the usual Jupitive box set would present to you. But let's introduce Saga. Style, action, gimmick, and absence. Style is how much does the Gunpla resemble its anime, manga, games, or other media counterpart. And like I have mentioned, this is not Jupitive Gundam as it comes in the box set. I put the Jupitive armor onto the low visibility type of Core Gundam that I had previously taken a look at. One is because I think Jupitive Gundam is a bit boring with its all-white design, but also I have to use this clear planetary armor somewhere, and Jupitive Gundam seems like a good place for me to showcase where are the common parts for the planetary armor and where are the unique parts. Now I keep the rest of the armor on the core hanger so that you can get a rough idea of what core hanger typically looks like. And I also built a Core Gundam that comes with the Jupitive armor or Jupitive Gundam. It is a lot less boring than the all-white Jupitive Gundam form with its neon pink and neon yellow accent color as opposed to the typical golden yellow and bright red. I also didn't use stickers for this Core Gundam because I do like a few red-eye Gundams. Anyways, we will take a look at this guy later. Let's focus on the unique style part of the Jupitive armor, namely the extra antenna, shoulder pad extension, these frame braces, the backpack, and the foot. The antenna is a simple white piece going on top of Core Gundam's antenna. Pretty nice form of double antenna. If I'm building this, completely new with both the Jupiter armor and the low visibility Core Gundam, I might swap out the Core Gundam's antenna as well. But as for now, having the different type of antenna and then the two-tone center receiver with the ash white from Core Gundam and just flat white from the Jupitive armor is pretty cool. Onto the shoulder extension, it is very well sculpted and there are even details inside that you can see through the clear armor. What's extra nice is how it have a clever part separation. So this attachment thruster extension is one part with the apogee motors in the front and the back of the shoulder pads. This is very nice color separation with gray sculpts, and because the side thruster / attachment point are blocking it, but they are also sculpted inside the shoulder armor extension. So very nice. As for the frame braces, they are actually called maneuver bits. They are shields and weapon, and also can fly on its own, which we'll take a look in Gimmick later, but for now, it is just a simple two-piece, the black bit and the white bit. Having said that, they still have some rather nice sculpt for the RPG motors and the different parts of the frame brace. In fact, even the inner lining have a barrel in it. So, and we have a nice deep barrel, even with just a single piece casting for this manifold bits, which is very nice. The foot, or the ankle and the foot, are relatively simple. Just two pieces, and then the foot is one piece. Having said that, they still got quite a bit of sculpt on there, and they even have some inner sculpt for it, so it's a bit hard to see even with the transparent armor, but yeah, it wouldn't look out of place with the transparent armor. And the foot is a claw type because the Jupitive Gundam is a space type mobile suit. It only needs the foot as a landing gear, and we even have a thruster sculpt at the bottom of the foot. So once again, despite the low part count, we have a lot of sculpt and very interesting shapes for Jupitive Gundam's foot. Now the main unit of Jupitive Gundam, the backpack, with its two very large thruster ports. Well, we'll tell you what they are later, but yeah, these thruster ports have a pivot near the top, so it can go 90-degree in, and then it also have a pivot inside. But the beam saber is blocking it from going all the way up the top, although that's no trouble for Jupitive Gundam to go all the way back as braking or going backwards. But don't worry about that. There is also a thruster at the end of the thruster port. In fact, these thruster ports also have thruster on the top as well, and they are all nicely sculpted. Having said that, the part counts for these thruster ports are relatively low. Just this top shell, the body, this joint, and then these two plates at the end. So despite being just black, despite having low part count, it is once again very well sculpted, interesting shapes. So I double checked the instructions, and you're not supposed to flip up the beam sabers like you usually do with the core armor system. You're supposed to leave them down so the core container bits can flip all the way up. And I don't think I have mentioned how this unique backpack it's very nicely sculpted despite being just one piece. Now, of course, there is a underpiece of the Core Gundam backpack there for the main thruster, but yeah, this is what we're getting with the Witch from Mercury and possibly more new Gunpla, with a very nicely sculpted one-piece backpack that I think works for the most part. Definitely would like to see more planetary armor uses this backpack, but I don't think we do. I could be proven wrong later though. Which is pretty much the theme of the Jupitive Gundam. There are style choices to support the Jupitive Gundam, being a specialized space mobile suit with the claw feet, the landing gear feet, or the extra apogee motors and thruster ports. But overall, I think it is more of an example of non-Okawara or non-power armor inspired type of Gundam, as we have seen pretty much since Zeta, which, if you haven't noticed, I am very fond of, so I like this a lot. Having said that, I am not too fond of the white armor contrast directly with the dark blue black. Like, it looks blue to the naked eye, but on camera it is just this muddy black as compared to the very clear, very nice black of the low visibility Core Gundam. So style wise, the sculpt is great, the design is great, but the color choices, at least for the Jupiter armor itself, isn't too great. But the color choices for the Core Gundam in the set is pretty good. So it is still a solid A for style. Next is action. Action isn't just the number of articulation on the Gunpla, but how useful they are. We have taken a bit of a look on the backpack already, and we had gone through with the detail points on a Core Gundam with other videos, but let's go through the basics. Head on the Forever HG joint with a ball inside the torso and a ball on the head. This allows Jupitive Gundam to look about 45 degrees up shoulder on a ball joint, and with the planetary armor gimmick, this ball joint enjoys some additional range on top of being a ball joint. And then the shoulder armor is independent of the shoulders, and Core Gundam just enjoy a double elbow. As Core Gundam 1, there's no ab crunch on the ab, but you do have a ball joint on the hip, so you can get a little bit of that if you want to. It is a stability versus movement. I have no objection to that. No side skirt or a very minimalist side skirt, and despite having the revival 2-point articulation on the hip, the shape of the thigh doesn't allow Jupitive Gundam to do a split, but it is wide enough for a good kick. Skirts once again come in as the double ball, as with most XG, and I just cut it down the middle and get some independent movement. The knee, thanks to the planetary armor system, have double joints, and because of the ratio of the armor and the position of the knee, Jupitive Gundam can kick his own ass, but pretty much kick his own back very easily with the rather long foot. Actually, the back crow allow it to scratch his back very easily. In fact, Jupitive Gundam can do a foot palm if it wants to. Like, forget face palm with your hand, foot palm with your foot. This is quite an intimidating mode. Okay, let's Um, do we need to do kung fu fighting? Do we need to do kung fu fighting with Jupitive Gundam? Um, Maybe just for the heck of it. Wow, super easy, barely inconvenient. Yeah, with all the AMBAC things that is possible on a mobile suit, yeah, no wonder Jupitive Gundam can kung fu fight very well. Yeah, Jupitive Gundam got an easy S for action for being able to foot palm and kung fu fight very easily, and the and he's fun some extra points for the very wide or backpack with very wide movement. So yeah, easy as for Jupitive Gundam in action. Next is Gimmick. Gimmick is usually the onboard and optional weapons of the mobile suit and some other additional functionalities. Like we have said, this is another Core Gundam Planetary Armor set. So you do have the hanger and the combination gimmick of the Planetary Armor and Core Gundam. And now we take a bit more time to look at the Core Gundam that comes with the Jupitive Gundam set. Like we have briefly looked at in the style section, it is a slightly more neon colored version of the basic Core Gundam in lieu of RX-78 color scheme. Now I decided to set it up with the beam sabers of different length because I haven't been showing you how the Core Gundam, instead of Core Gundam 2 Plus, the beam saber on here works. And I do feel it is a lot better compared to the Edgelord version of the Core Gundam 2. But, I'm not really complaining. I'm merely having a personal preferences. And I'm also putting on the universal adapter for the Core Gundam where it can wear a shield at the back as per the manual tells you to. Not particularly good looking, but it works. And yeah, very cool two length of beam saber blades. So yeah, pretty cool Core Gundam. The idea of this neon color is how the blue light are less likely to be absorbed by the atmosphere, thus looking different from what Gundam typically looks like. Not a bad idea, not a bad color scheme, just kind of unfortunate to be paired with even more white that would cover up the interesting dark chest piece that makes the neon yellow stand out, same as the skirts, and yeah, otherwise cool Core Gundam. Also pretty cool is this simple stand. It is very solid because it is pretty much just a bunch of struts, and it is tall enough that if you put Core Gundam on it, its legs wouldn't be long enough to touch the ground. In fact, this is even tall enough that Jupitive Gundam's foot wouldn't touch the ground, unless you're really trying. So yeah, very good stand. And I don't know why this stand is so short in supply as a standalone thing. Probably because it is in simple plastic packaging. Although although it is hard to imagine just a sprue of 4 pieces. Yeah, this thing is a sprue of 4 pieces that you can build without any tool. This is how cool this stand is. And all these extra holes is for you to stick your different attachment on, so as these extra bits, which you can use it again to hold attachments, and they were actually part of the sprue. So yeah, it is kind of difficult for Bandai to sort of sell this, independently, but at the same time, they don't really give it to every kid for obvious reasons. Still, would like to see, more circulation of this stand. Maybe sell a box set of 5, just throw it out there to hold on, say extra weapons for the bits. A lot of the funnels or incoms, etc., have 2 to 6 to 8 of them anyway, so may as well sell them at a set of 5. Anyways, more gimmicks. Jupitive Gundam's main weapon or main range weapon is the beam getting gun. It is a attachment to the core spray gun. I like how it is vaguely cross different AU, but also somehow still UC looking. And just like other core beam spray gun attachment, you just slot it in, and you can see this extra slot here. Let me take the core armor off its base. It is actually for the core armor to carry it. Usually you wouldn't have the core beam spray gun here, so you can still keep the base for the Jupiter armor, but with it, it looks like, it is a complete weapon and makes the Jupiter armor like a full-size mobile armor, unlike most of its other incarnation that just like, that kind of looks like a bunch of armor stick together. So we touch on the manifold bits a bit. They function as a buckler, as well as beam gun, as well as beam saber. Now this beam saber blade comes from other Gundam kits, which shows you how interchangeable they are. It would be nice if this set also comes with the generic beam saber blade, but if you can see on the table, we have quite a few different beam effect for this kit already, so I'm not too upset that I have to take some common beam saber blades for the manifold bits. As the name suggests, they are supposed to be funnels. Exactly how Kirito controls them, I'm not sure. Probably something to do with the Gunpla battle system, allow, regular human to use cycle mill systems. So yeah, like many high performance space type Gundam, Jupitive Gundam have funnels or bits. And they don't just fly around on their own. Jupitive Gundam can put them on its shoulder, sacrificing a bit of agility for defense or firepower. We can do that to both sides. And now we are having Jupitive Gundam in this sort of Gundam, but that's not all. Yeah, these thrusters ports, these thruster ports have some suspicious looking peg on them. That is because they are not thruster ports. They are called multi-container bits, which means they are everything, pretty much. They contain things. What things? A beam cannon and beam blade generator or emitter, depending on translations. Being called bits means they can operate on their own. And you'll notice with the extensions there are extra tracks in them. That's for you to attach the beam shield effects. And you can actually do it to the backpack as well. Let's put these manifold bits back together. You can absolutely have Jupitive Gundam with its manifold bits on the shoulder while having the container bits on the backpack, providing a shield as well as on the forearm with a beam Gatling gun on the other hand. And as we have shown before, you can also have the legs going backwards and holding out the cross as weapon. Let's attach the beam saber blade while we're at it. And all of this, we can put it on a base. I put it on a different position. And display it as so. This is the Jupitive Gundam kit. Okay, let's move you off the frame so the camera can focus on this guy. Yeah, this is what we can do with Jupitive Gundam with all of its gimmicks. Like this is practically as the Legends level of Gimmick, ECS for the Jupitive Gundam. Last and not least is absence, which I will talk about as I pack together all of this silliness. Yeah, while the color is not my personal liking, it is not a bad color choice to have a Space Gundam in plain white. I definitely much prefer it to be a ash gray like G3. In fact, if this is more like a part of its inspiration, the GP01 with its container pods or thruster pods, I would probably be content about its color scheme. Not that I don't like, white or mostly white mobile suits, but with so many gimmicks on the Jupitive Gundam, it is very odd to have a such plain color platter for it. Maybe the thought process was, with everything that's going on with the Jupitive Gundam, they're going to simplify the color scheme with a mostly white armor to balance out its complexity. But to be honest, after Gundam had evolved so much, after all the work they put into the sculpt and the mold design, I find it rather, upsetting is a bit strong. Let's say unfortunate. I find it rather unfortunate that they decided to do a boring, white color. Like, wow, the white line art is surely boring. I do get they sort of kinda try to invoke the narrative Gundam feel, but because narrative have a lot more exposed in the frame, Jupitive not so much. So yeah, I think I made a good choice for combining the transparent armor, the low visibility type Core Gundam, so the black with the black Jupitive extensions looks sort of like the inner frame of narrative. I think it would be fine if I just use the white armor, to be honest, but yeah, I can't say no to the transparent armor. So yeah, for absence, I think it is an S. You can't really fault the odd color choice when the kids already give you the extra stand, the predatory armor hanger, a pretty nifty Core Gundam that just happens to have armor that doesn't complement its own color scheme, and then all these beamed effects. So again, easy S for the Jupitive Gundam's absence. So to recap, Jupitive Gundam's style is pretty decent, if not for the unfortunate choice of a very boring white predatory armor that covers up a lot of the interesting color choices made for the space reflect blue tone shift neon color RX-78 scheme for the Core Gundam. This is not the criminally overused and not nice flat white though. It is somewhere between that white and the ash white that I like a lot on G3 and the low visibility Anu Gundam. But having the same white on the Core Gundam as well as the predatory armor, it looks really boring. Having said that, the rest of the sculpt is phenomenal, so it is a easy A for style. For action, because the Core Gundam system is the revival system with a bit of its own combination, and unlike the later entries, Bandai opt for a more stable midsection instead of slightly more articulation. So it is really stable despite, you can do some epic poses with them. So easy as for action. Gimmick. Yeah, I do have an extra Core Gundam here that kind of bulk out what you get in the set. But with all the extra beam effect, the extra stand, and how well the extra functions on these bits goes, I have to give it an S for Gimmick. Finally, for absence, really nothing is amiss. Yes, like I said, the color choices kind of failed the overall designs and the scope work, but the whole Core Gundam planetary armor concept is that you can mix and match with them, and by using the low visibility type here, I demonstrated just that, and even without it, you still got a very complete set with multiple stands and multiple beam effects to play around. It is an S if you just buy the Jupitive Gundam on its own, and it is a S plus if you have any other Core Gundams. So the verdict for the PFF-X7 J5 Jupitive Gundam is A for style, S for action, S for gimmick, and S for absence. Personally, the Jupitive armor is my second favorite planetary armor, right after the Pluto Gundam, for obvious reasons. And I really like how you get a lot of play out of this planetary armor set. I might discover other planetary armor as I build them later on, but none of them are as gimmick rich as the Jupitive armor, and none of them are as unique as Jupitive armor because of the legs, the extensions, and the backpack. It's not even using the generic backpack. If you are looking for a Core Gundam, if you like a white Gundam, or if you are looking to mix and match your existing Core Gundams, Jupitive Gundam should be your top choice. Thanks for watching. See you next time.